Hey everyone, I am back and it is the first day of spring. Since it's spring, out of all my midnight motivations, the thing that I love the most is bringing people on, and I'm always meeting extraordinary people. So I have someone very, very motivational. We just had, I would say, an explosive conversation. And by the end of the conversation, I was like, I need to have you on Midnight Connection. So I am going to bring on, drum roll, Coach Cara Jean. How are you?
Oh, delightful. I am so excited to be here. I love what you literally, it was one of those conversations like we didn't schedule enough time. We're going to have to do this again.
And then we decided to take this conversation for the whole world. So I actually like, so we're new friends. And Midnight Motivation, I like to promote positivity. So I'm all about that. This is just my way of putting good karma into the world. I'm always like marketing and selling. But, I just like sometimes, and I'm an extrovert. I like meeting people and stuff. And I have been on my own personal health journey for 2 years. I've gotten a personal coach, a business coach, a nutritionist, all sorts of everyone. Spiritual, started going back to church even because I'm not very churchy. I believe you can pray in your car. That's my church. So I'm all about coaches, and I just love meeting them because you can get these little pearls of wisdom, and I know you can share a lot with us. But so let me start, because you started the conversation before we went on air really well, and I'm like, stop, save it. What got you into, I have very specific coaching questions and stuff, but what got you into coaching?
So twofold. I'm gonna go to what we were talking about before, but it actually started with a company I was working for, which ties into where we're going. The company I was working for is a development firm. That's what they consider themselves, but they were actually a restaurant, which was a fascinating way to be. And I got to really lean into what it was to be a coach in that space at an operational level. What does developing a team at operations with an executive backing really look like? It was incredible. Fast forward a couple years into my relationship with this company, as I'm helping develop some of the executive trainings, my brother committed suicide. And it rocked my world. It was suddenly like nothing had changed except everything was on fire, and I had to figure out how to walk on walls. And I was lucky to be in this company because the CEO, this is unheard of. The CEO called and said, I heard what happened. I have 2 restaurants by where your parents live. Would you like to move them? I'll make a position for you.
Wow.
It was insane. Of course, being part of the hustle culture that we all have been raised in, I was like, oh no, I will do everything by myself. This is fine. I can just handle all of this grief and all of this pain and also take care of lots of other people while developing an entire culture. Sure, it's fine. This is fine. And then I had a hard day, and then my mom had a hard day, and I was like, look, dum-dum, you could literally be there. So I had to call him back and be like, okay, you were more right than me. And yes, that would be incredibly helpful. And they did. They created an entire position. I got to move up. I got to dive into coaching and leadership development, the skills, the tools, the mindsets that let people, the extra weight that comes from that. And it's part of what took my brother. He was struggling with anxiety and depression on his own and kept succeeding. And in these tech companies in success, often it's just that you successfully get more work and less support. Right. And so he felt the need to care for all of these people, but was not getting his needs taken care of. And it caused an imbalance that cost him his life. And we see it. His story, while unique, is not exceptional, unfortunately. And we see it too often. Hustle culture is literally killing people. And I thought we could do better. So I did.
Well, that's leads me into my question, but also that's why in the last 2 years I've taken this personal change, because I just am a workaholic. And I can remember I'm also, besides doing marketing, we do t-shirts. I have a production floor. So I just have like this ugly cement floor, and I was just like, I just laid on the floor, and I was just like out for the count, like having an anxiety attack, and just like I need to turn things around. Like this is crazy. I'm laying on a dirty floor. And I'm like just trying to compose myself. So, but what I found very, very interesting, because if you've ever watched my past shows, I talk about breathing. I've learned um, so much in the last 2 years. But what I find very interesting about yours, and you touched on it, is like you coach leaders. And what I wanted to ask you is, so like I have all this, and I think a lot of us think about self-help, help us, which is necessary, and we need to start there. You know, we all need to help ourselves. But I just find the topic of helping leaders, because these are the people, like you're not only helping one person, they shape all these other people. So you have this like magnitude that is, so that's the obvious thing. If you coach a leader, you're actually helping 50 or hundreds or thousands or zillions of people. But I guess my question is, I just find that even an interesting thought. Like, what is the difference of coaching leaders versus a personal one-on-one, let's make my life personally better?
Very little. I wish that I had a better answer to that. Like it was some fantastic, well, leaders are. But the truth is, every single one of us is a leader, whether you want to be or not. So sorry for all of you out there who are like, leadership. You're already doing it. The same steps that I take my CEOs through are the same as I take my individual entrepreneurs through, who are technically solopreneurs. They're not working with a team, except we are. Every single one of us. You cannot, I say we're meat suits full of hormone soup, controlled by mush management and made of stardust. And you cannot get through this life without navigating this meat suit in a universe full of meat suits. And that's messy.
Sounds like a horror movie. It's like Freddy and Jason there.
The gushing blood. Yeah. But that's really, I mean, trauma and drama is a natural part of it. So whether I am leading somebody who's leading 100 people or I'm leading someone who is leading themselves, we're impacting people every single day. I did a giant deep dive into epigenetics because of it. It's the study. This is the greatest thing. We now have science that shows it's not what you come with, but what you do with that really matters. We often get caught up in, well, I'm not that yet, or when I have, then I can sort of stuff. But literally, look at what you did. You internalized that you were willing to lay down on a dirty, nasty floor and stare at it because that was better than trying to just breathe through the next minute. And in choosing to find your own happiness, in choosing to lean into that self-care, look at the people that you have connected with. Look at the lives that you've impacted with that. You did it entirely for yourself, but our attitudes are so contagious that epigenetically choosing happiness for ourselves literally creates more happiness in the world.
That's true. So true. Well, speaking of all the people that you help, another thing is that I loved from our conversation, and then I was like reading your bio, your favorite clients, diversity, equity, inclusion, lot of women power and everything. We talked about disabilities, autism, neurodivergence, just like all the whole spectrum, the whole rainbow of people. So I guess what attracts you, or what kind of people do you like to work with, and why? And it's not all suits out there.
It's not. No, typically the people I work with, and this is an interesting thing, I found this through questioning my clients. Out of 20 clients in one day, 19 of them had rocks in their pocket and were wearing comfortable shoes. Actually, all 20 of them wore comfortable shoes. I don't know that that's a niche, so to say, but if you are a little spicy and maybe like some rocks and wear comfortable shoes because you're willing to do the work, well, I'm willing to work right alongside you.
That sounds good. I always like to have, I'm near the beach, I like to have a shell in my pocket.
Yes.
So, and then I was also reading about, well, I was interested in the buddy bundles. What is buddy bundle? Well, I've kind of gotten the gist of it, but and just let me say before you go in, like that's the serious conversation topic, but I just want to comment. I love the words you use. I love the flavor of your speech. I mean, we are just sisters and we've just met. I was just like, that's why I'm like, I gotta have you on. Like, even some of the words you used earlier, spicy, you know, you like things spicy and everything. So speaking of words and terminology, I'd love to have a buddy butto.
I do. Accountability buddy. I can't claim ownership of that term. The first time I read that was in, I think, the Oz Principle. It's a fantastic book if you want to learn about accountability. Delightful. Cannot suggest it enough. Also, it's a business book, but they frame it around the Wizard of Oz, which is way more fun than every other business book. Yeah.
I will have to look into that.
Oh, do. In our world, in the hustle culture, in what we know, accountability kind of becomes like a space too easily. Like people try and hold you accountable, which by its nature doesn't work. You can hold someone to a responsibility because it's a task. It's a tangible thing. I'm going to give you this responsibility. It is now yours. I'm going to hold you to that. But accountability is what we take ownership of within that responsibility. And it's really simple, but not easy. And it works best if you believe that you're an expert in something so you can lean into that space. And too many of us don't know our own expertise. And even if we do, we just don't take the time to ask ourselves. So when I was working at operations and I was expected to develop people, the hour-long one-on-ones that is corporate standard is just ridiculous and unrealistic. It ended up being like quarterly reviews, and that's not development. That's gross. That's my BS, my belief system, right? Might not align with everybody.
I love that BS. I'm like sticky note. I'm gonna have a new vocabulary.
But it is learning to. I'll just tell you how it works. It's so simple. They're 15-minute long. It's 4 questions. What's one thing I can help you with? Why is now important? What if, let's imagine, we all know the experience. Anybody who's existed knows that feeling of getting one right thing, and then it can lead to the next right thing, which leads to that teeny tiny little right thing, but they snowball into this whole other space 6 months later. So imagine we had that perfect one thing. What does it look like 6 months from now? The science behind that is we focus you on one thing. So you go back to what's a problem. Why is it important now? What does it look like in the future? So now we've engaged all of your neural pathways. Then the hard-hitting question, so why hasn't that happened yet? And it is amazing when you've engaged your brain and you are looking at somebody who is expecting an answer, how easily that answer comes to you. Because you're a genius. You're an expert. You're exactly perfect. You're the only you who has done what you do as long as you have been around to do it. And I don't care if that is flipping burgers or running a podcast or coaching executives. Wherever you are in your life, you're the only one who's done what you do as long as you've been around to do it. So you're the best expert to ask what it is that you're going to do. And that's what they're designed for. So I'm going to be your accountability buddy. We're going to go through this process, figure out what you're going to do, and then we're going to follow up. Did it work?
Sounds good. Well, we might have a buddy. Usually people catch my show afterwards. We got a lost night for the cross, and they just wrote leadership in women. So I guess I'll ask the question, like, how do you help leadership with women in leadership roles?
I love, not that I don't love our men, that's not what I'm saying, but I love women in leadership because the She-Hulk of it.
Okay.
So my favorite part of the She-Hulk movie, and I am so glad I didn't go see it in the theaters because I would have stood up and cheered in the middle of the movie. But when she looks at him and she's like, you want to know my secret power? I'm always mad, always. And I have been taught since I was in the womb to control it.
Right.
And not all women feel that way, but most of the ones I hang out with sure understand that. Yeah. And because of that higher level of emotional intelligence, women are designed for leading us forward in this new normal. We've had this masculine driven hustle culture that's been driving us since before the 80s, but definitely since the 80s. And we had a pandemic that taught us, look, I'm not saying pandemics are good, but what we learned from it is great. We learned that when you adjust to taking care of people, they take care of you and your business. And the more you do that, the more you recognize their innate humanity and their innate worthiness to exist, period, the easier it is to engage them on a personal level that takes it to a whole new level in business. And women have been groomed for that, good or bad. It is something that we have been groomed for generations, is to organize and support people. It's an excellent spot for a leader to be in.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like glad that we can shine now. I mean, I know there's still inequality. There's inequalities everywhere and always will be. But, things are getting better.
Yeah.
So I'm like taking little things. So like I was reviewing your site and everything. And like I said, it's all about motivation. And you are just exude motivation. But one of the things that you talk about is getting unstuck. And I that's a topic that I just like, because I always say I fall off the wagon, but like, I love to walk and I have to get back on my walking wagon. I've fallen off again, but, but with anything, I can totally relate to having to get unstuck. You just like, this is the workaholic part, push, 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 push. And then you're basically, you feel you're stuck. So how do you get unstuck? So I guess I would love to hear your opinion on getting unstuck, because I think that is what a lot of people need to get themselves out of bed and push forward. And the other thing, so my New Year's resolution, since I've been doing for 2 years ago, was self-care. Last year was self-promo. And just for me, because I promote everyone else, but I never toot my own horn. And this year it's level up. So my unstuck is like, I feel like I'm so much better than when I was laying on the floor 2 years ago, but I want to level up. Like, you always can get stuck at different levels.
Yep.
And I always want to better myself, better the next day, better than the last. So I guess those would be what are some great tools to get you unstuck, to get you to the next level?
A lot of it is just awareness based, right? So that stuck feeling, it feels like you're just churning round and round and round, chasing what next in a little circle. And it feels like that because you're in the middle of it, right? But from everyone else's point of view, you're climbing a mountain. Same motion, but it looks different from a different perspective. So most of the time, and that's why the accountability buddy sessions work so well, because so much of the time you don't really need you don't need anybody to save you. You don't even need anybody to tell you what to do. You just need a moment to get the perspective of how much you have done already. And then you're like, oh, okay, I can do more. Okay, I have accomplished. That means I can accomplish. It really is that small of a perspective shift. Another way to look at that is I teach about what I call the T. So this is how I see creation of any kind, whether you are brewing a cup of tea or running a business. There is trust from the bottom, there's empowerment from the top, and the adjustment in the middle, right? The alignment that happens over and over and over again. So remembering that stuck feeling, that messy middle feeling that we all know so well, that means you're doing something.
Yeah, uncomfortable is good.
Yeah. And there is no one way out of that. There are many ways out of that. And one is not necessarily better than the other, except what works best for you.
This is true. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share, or, people, you're interested in connecting with, or pearls of wisdom, or anything that you want to? Because I feel like I've gotten a lot out of this call. I could talk to you for like weeks.
Something I would really want to leave people with. You were created perfect. Yeah, you cannot convince me otherwise. I don't care if you are divergent, spicy, or have another disorder that makes you feel broken and damaged. You're not, just not. Those are things that shape you, but they don't define you, because your next choice can change that. And that's the thing I really wish most and all humans could know, is that the judgments we make of ourselves, boy, our judgment is such a great tool. To use it for being judgmental seems like such a waste. So let the all go away. Use your good judgment and know that you absolutely belong, and the world is better for having you in it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and giving us your wisdom. And I just would encourage everyone to, one, I'm on my own journey, help yourself. There's many different ways to do it, but also, like, if you're a business, so if you are an owner, to get it for yourself to help. But I love the fact, so I'm a small business, but I do know large companies have departments and have people that come in. And so large businesses contact someone like, you can totally change. People work so much better when they're happier, And so, I mean, it's like, if you came to my small business, you basically just be helping me versus an entire building. But I can picture you moving mountains and making a huge change. So I suggest, and I love her name, taking Cara business. We haven't mentioned that enough. So it's Coach Cara, and it's taking Cara, CARA, business.com. So if you want to get more, if you want to learn more, if you want to get some of the spicy vocabulary that I love, I really enjoyed being on our site. And definitely call Coach Cara. Thank you for being here today.
My pleasure. That was wonderful. Can I comment on the commenter?
Sure.
Okay. So last night, I'm not going to read your whole comment out, but I would remind you of every mother in existence, because they've been leading households and families since the dawn of time. Women are powerful.
Yeah, I second that. Well, thank you so much. And everyone, have a great evening.